welcome to the MVP Show. My intention is that you listen to the stories of these MVP guests and are inspired to become an MVP and bring value to the world through your skills. If you have not checked it out already, I do a YouTube series called How to Become an MVP. The link is in the show notes. With that, let's get on with the show. Welcome back to the MVP Show. Today I'm joined by Danny, all the way from the Netherlands. All the links that we discuss or any topics we discuss that have links will be in the show notes for this episode. Danny, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mark. How are you?
Very good, very good. You start your day, I end mine. It's my last podcast for the week. But when I looked at your bio, I can see you're doing a lot of great stuff in the AI space, so keen to have a chat with you on that. But before we do, tell me a bit about food, family, and fun. What do they mean to you?
Oh, well, food's really important. So we tend to eat very, very various, with vegan, but also a lot of meat and fish. I love to barbecue, although I live I live in dead center city, so we don't have a garden. So it's really hard to barbecue around here. I've got a big family, 4 kids, all the way from 2 years old to 20 years old and everything in between. Yeah. Live in Haarlem with my girlfriend Kim, and for fun, I'm building a home. Actually, I'm building a farm home. So right now, that's all about fun. Yeah,
that's nuts. Because when you said I've got 3 to 20 years of age, my eldest son is 20 and my youngest son is 3.
Oh, so really? So I've got
it's crazy.
So 2 to 20, 2 to 20. Yeah.
Pardon?
2 to 20.
Yeah, 2 to 20. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big gap. And I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old at the moment, so life's full on with them.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I actually think that those 2 years old right now are a lot of fun, and they get me excited all the day.
Yeah, totally. Tell me, what's top of mind for you in the Microsoft AI arena? We're kind of like 2 years in with Copilot now, 3 or 4 years with Gen AI being the big headline act in the market. What are you seeing in Europe, in your customers, in your country? What are you seeing?
Well, we're seeing a lot of different things. We see AI hitting it off. A lot of different customers are really enthusiastic about the usage of AI and the possibilities of AI. However, we also see a lot of skepticism towards Microsoft, or not towards Microsoft, but towards American or US-based tech companies in Europe at this moment. We see adoption of end user or bring your own AI going through the roof. We see adoption of corporate widespread AI slacking a little bit. It's not picking up that much. However, I do believe that there's a big, huge wish for companies to actually go this road.
Why do you think that after 2 years of Copilot being in market, there's quite a disparity for, if you like, the marketing and the effort, I suppose, that we're seeing from Microsoft to the actual sold seats? I mean, just this week, it was announced how many paying subscriptions there are, and based on the M365 user base, it works out at 3.3% globally that are paying for Copilot. Which after 2 years, I'm like, man, that's a low number.
It's not like Teams. Teams hit it off really hard and was one of the best-selling products at that moment. So what I actually do believe is that when Copilot hit the market about 2 years ago, we just had ChatGPT hitting the market before that. And ChatGPT was a consumer-oriented product at that moment, where a lot of different customers were experiencing or were trying out ChatGPT and wanted the ChatGPT promise for their organizations. When they then started using Copilot, to be honest, the whole Copilot experience when they hit the market was not that great. It was not up to the ChatGPT standard, and thus the first mover users or first mover, the first using customers were a little bit disappointed. And what I've seen ever since, basically, is us fighting, or our company fighting, that first impression. At this moment, I don't know if you did a comparison recently, but at this moment, if I compare ChatGPT towards a Copilot, I actually do believe that Copilot in many occasions is better than ChatGPT, especially when it concerns business data, but also for general questions. But, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine in my own company living without Copilot, but I have done a lot of work to make sure the data that's hydrating Copilot about my organization, product line, services, everything, the entire DNA. I've particularly created a full library in SharePoint and Teams to make sure that it has a master set of data that also embeds in a master like prompt about my company inside that. And so it's become, for me, I feel like I've just gone to steroid level. Like I couldn't turn to another AI tool about my company. Nothing else has the level of DNA that Copilot has. So I definitely get what you mean there.
Yeah, and I truly do believe that Copilot has all the things it needs to become the actual UI for AI, especially in corporate governed organizations where they need to control the usage of AI, just to make sure that it's not widespread and that not everybody will go towards Modbot or whatever. So I do really believe that to speak in the words of Donald Trump, Microsoft has all the cards, and they will hit it off on the long run. What I also do believe, however, is that in the last couple of months, Microsoft has been pivoting a little bit towards end user AI, which was their initial presentation, towards more agentic AI, where it's not so much individual productivity gains, but corporate processes gains. And to be honest, when I speak to C-level about advantages of AI, nobody's interested in saving, half an hour or an hour per employee per day, especially when it's personal productivity. They're all interested in how can we improve specific organizational-wide processes. So how can we improve order to cash processes and make sure that we decrease the entire entire run through of a specific process, or all the people used on a specific process, with 25% or whatever. And we're slowly getting there. We're not there yet, but I think that we'll see huge adoption when we hit those numbers. When we can actually use Copilot as a company-wide AI to create big advantages.
Yeah. I noticed on your website, and for those that don't realize, Danny owns a company and has done for some time, founded quite a prestigious company in the Netherlands, that you do Copilot adoption training. What form does that take with your customers?
Rolling out Microsoft 365 Copilot licenses isn't enough. You need an adoption plan to get people using it well. In our new book, published by Microsoft, we offer a practical guide to successful Copilot adoption. Many leaders believe in the why of Copilot and AI, but they need guidance on how, from practical frameworks to enabling champions and measuring impact. Get your copy of Microsoft 365 Copilot Adoption now from Amazon, or find a link in the show notes.
Well, we typically start off with an envisioning about how AI can work for their organization. It's not so much Copilot, but AI in general. And of course, it in many occasions boils down to Copilot. In some occasions, it's more AI embedded in products or whatever with Azure AI Foundry. But as soon as we've done an envisioning about what our customers actually need with regards to AI, we'll make sure that we start a communication program within the organization. How will their organization benefit through AI? What kind of results will they get? And after that, we'll go into individual trainings. We either do that with games, or we use specific types of software. It's across the board. Yeah.
Tell me about the games. That's interesting.
Yeah, so there's a couple of programs out there which actually help us, or a couple of systems out there which actually help us do this. So Let's Copilot is one of them. Workplace Buddy is another one of them. And we'll actually use these apps where people need to, solve specific problems, or where they need to find out the answers for specific questions with the usage of AI or with the usage of Copilot. They'll get trained performing a game, and they can get points for everything they do and everything they solve. So it's a gamification, basically, of the entire learning experience.
One of the things that we saw a lot in 2025 and heard a lot in the market was a lot of companies did AI POCs of some sort, and the number of POCs that moved to production was extremely low across the board. And how are you moving that dial with your customers from, out of POC into production, into value creation for the business?
Yeah, so what we see, and I'm really curious to hear what your experience with this is, but what we see is, as soon as we talk about personal productivity gains through AI, and how people can actually, save half an hour or an hour a day just by using, for instance, a facilitator app or whatever, for many C-levels, that's not enough. So when we go into this discussion with them about the actual advantage of AI or Copilot for their organization, and we show them that the individual can save 30 minutes, they'll tell us, that's great, but they'll just use those 30 minutes to drink a cup of coffee or talk to a different colleague or whatever. It's not worth my investment in this. So as soon as we go over into these organizations, then we prove them not only individual productivity gains, but also how we can, really change company-wide processes. That's where the actual POCs go into production. And we can actually start using AI for the entire company. What's your experience with this?
I think productivity is the wrong story.
Mm-hmm.
As in, I think M365's story over the last 5, 10, however long it's been in market, has been a productivity story. And I think customers didn't want to hear the story again in regards to what Copilot would do. And I've heard exactly what you've said, where C-level said's great, so they get to spend more time around the water cooler. So what? Like, how's that moving the dial? I fundamentally think that AI has been seen as a nice bit of new tech software in the organization, rather than fundamentally it's a piece of infrastructure your organization needs, and you need to bring the AI literacy of your entire organization up by 30%, and imagine the impact that would have. So let's not talk about productivity. Let's talk about totally reinventing the way this company does work, or how work is done in the workplace. I think that's the...
Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah, no,
I'm
go.
really enthusiastic about this. So what you're saying actually is that all these C-level people, which have been struggling with adoption of technology in general within their organizations, now need to believe that AI will actually change their entire company as a whole.
I'm saying the mindset of its value to the organization.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. But the problem here is that those C-level people, those 50, 60, whatever year old board of directors, which don't believe in technology in itself, or which are just starting to adopt technology themselves, now need to transition and believe that AI will fundamentally change their organization. That's a huge step.
Yes, totally. But what surprises me is that I'm surprised you have C-levels in that space in the Netherlands, because the Netherlands have always been like a very forward-thinking, they founded New Zealand, they discovered New Zealand. Like they've always been out frontier type activities globally. I'm surprised that you're saying that you've still got companies that are at that kind of large scale, but still not. Are you still like saying they're more paper based and not even digitized? And
Well, that's a little bit off the board, but they're digitized. Companies are digitized. They are really technology savvy. However, there's also a big, huge skepticism.
yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, and there's actually skepticism right now, like there's been about 12 years ago, 15 years ago, I think, when Microsoft Office 365 hit the market, 16 years maybe. There's been skepticism towards the cloud. I see the same level of skepticism at this point towards AI. And what we've seen is Teams, has been a product which was part of Microsoft 365 and was, introduced just before COVID and then hit the market really, really fast when COVID came around. So adoption was from 0 to 100 within just a couple of years. The AI story at this moment is different. Everybody sees personal productivity gains, but the actual proof of organizations really changing their entire business model through AI is still not delivered.
Interesting. Do you think it's because it's been sold in to a degree, in a very generic way? Like if you see all the use cases, they're all kind of like, great, you can summarize a Teams meeting. Great, you've got and it's kind of like, is that it? Like this major intelligence tool and it can summarize a meeting or summarize my email thread or something like that. Is it, I suppose, what people are seeing in the media and then when they get the reality of the tool just so disconnected that's creating a frustration? And how do you get beyond it?
I think you're right. So if you hear Dario during the World Economic Forum talk about that 50% of all starting jobs in the market in a whole will actually disappear within the next 5 years from now. Bill Gates during the Tonight Show just last year or May, I think, doing thinking about going into a 2-week work week within the next 10 years or so. And then actually the advantages that people see with AI, there's such a difference or a distance between the two that it's almost, unrealistic or unbelievable for a lot of people that, they just don't believe that that's going to happen. So maybe I think you're right. There's a lot of frustration with people just not getting what's out there. However, when I talk to one of my software developers, and I don't know if you're a software developer, but when I talk to one of my software developers, their job about 18 months ago was, making sure that all those lines of code got on paper, got in their systems, and software developers are really, they're enthusiastic about creating the best line of code. So just 18 months ago, 24 months ago, it was all about creating the best lines of code themselves. Right now, most software developers are becoming prompt engineers on steroids. And, this change is something that not a whole lot of people notice. If you talk to a CFO, and you explain them how the role of a software developer is changing from somebody who's actually specialized in creating the best line of code towards a prompt engineer, it's a little bit far-fetched for them. The concept is a little bit far-fetched for them. But I think that there's where the real proof of the pudding is. In these types of jobs, really changing around 180 degrees.
What has to happen in 2026 for this pendulum to start swinging the other way, where companies are going, you know what, we've got to get serious about this. We've got to, if we will it impact us if we don't? But really going from that, hyper skepticism, and And, personally, I think the whole agent story has added to that skepticism. I just believe the reality of what we're sold about agents and the reality of what is possible is a massive void. And I find it hard that if I've got to spend more time configuring an agent than the value it's going to get out of me, like, why am I doing this? And I feel that's where we are at the moment. But if you looked at the end of 2026, and we're in February, where do you think we will be from your perspective and looking at your time horizons in your own business and your own customer base? Where do you maybe hope you'll be, or where do you think the market will be at 12 months from now?
I really do believe that the market 12 months from now will be totally different from the market right now. I really do believe that. I think that over the next couple of months, we'll see actual breakthroughs within companies of specific processes or entire end-to-end processes. And we will see a shift in the belief of many business leaders about how this can actually change their organization. I think that most companies will have multiple successful use cases and will start to invest more highly in what AI can actually do for their organization. I think that we've been hitting the market slow, but I do see little breakthroughs which are start pivoting the entire AI story.
How will companies and even talk about how you think of this? And this is really I want to wrap on this. Is what is the best way for a company to get to a use case that's highly theirs, almost like IP development even within that organization? So in other words, we don't want a generic off the shelf, here's a win, where it's how do you get to that point of discovery or innovation inside the organization where that light bulb comes on and they're like, wow, if that's possible, what if we started going more broader in our business?
Yeah, so where I see the actual successes hitting the mark is where we're not just talking about one person or one department, but we're talking about multi-level processes which span multiple organizations within multiple divisions within the organization, multiple departments within the organization. For instance, order to cash. And as soon as we've got this entire process mapped out, and you can see how AI and automation, let me, wrap this in one word. When we see AI and automation actually making real big changes in these processes, improve quality, improve time to market, improve or speed of the order to cash process, improve the number of people needed, or decrease the number of people needed to go through these processes. That's where we see big uptake within organizations. As long as we focus on individual processes and individual use, I really do believe that we're not hitting the mark.
Very cool. Personal use of AI. What's your your hero story? If you're at a barbecue, chatting about how you use it rather than how your customers use it, what's that for you?
Well, that's a personal productivity story. Since a couple of weeks, I've been using the Facilitator app in individual conversations with people. So as soon as I walk out of a meeting, I've put my phone into the Facilitator mode within Microsoft Teams, and I'll actually get an entire report of the meeting with all the action items, etc., etc. So for me, that saves me a lot of time. I'm in 3 to 4 meetings a day at least. And it will actually save me about 2 to 2.5 hours of work just summarizing these different meetings.
I've seen Facilitator. Kev, on a meeting I was on yesterday with somebody else, they'd set the meeting, and I was like, I've got to drill into that a bit more and see the goodness that's there. So that's you've motivated me to go take a look.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Danny, have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark. Have a great day.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If you like the show and want to be a supporter, check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. Thanks again, and see you next time.